So let's try something different this afternoon. If you'll notice, a lot of our presentations today at AIM are about cybersecurity, OT, IT with AI. But has anyone stopped to think about AI itself? So let's take a look. Okay, I'll briefly go through AI basics, just enough to get everyone going, and we'll take a look at the attack surface of AI. Because AI is not just a tool, it also has its own attack surface. Then we'll go through the vulnerabilities, the top 3 vulnerabilities of AI, and I'll introduce you to MITRE. Then we'll have a case study of an attack on an AI system, and we'll have our defense against the dark arts section and our conclusion. Okay, let's begin. So as I mentioned, there is artificial intelligence in cybersecurity. It is now being rolled out, or if it's not already rolled out. But the thing is, has anyone stopped to think, what about the cybersecurity in AI? Because again, new technology, 100% sure there is some vulnerabilities with it. It's new. So, but before we get there, we have to get our basics up and going first. AI. So how does it work? So there is data. There is a model where you feed the data into the model. The model regurgitates, processes the data, and the training data as well, any PII, any let's see, proprietary data is also being used there, and it comes out with the use. So how you use it. It could be chat, it could be fed to another application, etc. So it depends on how it's used. So that's how we go. 3 points. It's hard to forget that. Data, model, and use. So for data, what are the vulnerabilities? First and foremost, poisoning the data. Not actual poisoning, but more like the data you used is tampered, for example, or you use the wrong data to train the AI, or a threat actor, a hacker, a nation state attacker modified the data so that it will not behave. I like to use the word behave and misbehave, but in this case, so it may not behave as it should. Next is data exfiltration. If, for example, your AI has a data set embedded into it, there is a good chance that the data inside can be stolen by a hacker. For example, AI has something called guardrails. Guardrails which prevent it from doing something it's not supposed to do, like give away the data. But sometimes if you, for example, it's a prompt, ChatGPT, for example, or any other AI, if you ask it the right questions, like what is, for example, and the guardrails are not there, it will give the answer. And you ask and keep asking the questions, very specific questions, and eventually you will have data leakage, which is the last one, by the way. Data leakage may not be malicious. It may be a bug, or the data you gave was too much, or the guardrails were not fully implemented, or doesn't exist. So that's data leakage. The only difference between data exfiltration and leakage is exfiltration is malicious. Now, for the model, the actual brain, right? So first and foremost, sources. Even if you have the correct source, there may be subversions of that source. So when you check the source, you have to know that the source is vetted, that is the correct source. So know the source. Okay, so you also have to make sure that it is trusted. The source is trusted, and it was not modified by anyone else or any group of persons with malice, of course. Now, then lastly, if it's not modified, at the very least, It doesn't have malicious intent, malicious data, or malware. It can have malware. So again, that will really throw off your entire project, your entire AI project, if it had malware in it. So your proprietary data will probably be exfiltrated, and you will have an AI who looks like it's high on drugs when you ask questions about it. Right? We will get to that actually. Now some models have APIs. Now the problem is, errors may be present on the API. And when it fetches, and it might give the wrong information again. And if remember, AI is used heavily, especially in cybersecurity. It's now being used there. If you get the wrong data or the wrong output, then what would happen? Then your whole solution will probably go tank up. Now, privilege escalation, this is a good one, because sometimes you just let the AI have what it wants and let it do its job. But the thing is, you must have some form of limits on its privileges, just enough for it to perform the job, in case it goes haywire. If it goes haywire and it has full privileges, your infrastructure, the server, the network will be affected. And it will start, if it's a malware, then it will start infecting the internal network. So again, privilege escalation is one of those vulnerabilities. IP attack, not internet protocol. That is intellectual property attack. In the sense that sometimes the data that your AI may, without your consent or without your knowing, was using copyrighted data, and then someone was using it and saw that, the owner saw that, you get sued. So again, be careful make sure you really do know where the data is coming from. Making sure that it did not steal from someone else. All right, so now on the last part, use, of course, prompt injection vulnerability, number one vulnerability according to OWASP for AI. Basically, well, I'll discuss that. Spoilers. We'll discuss that. Now, that's also known as jailbreaking, or you're trying to basically go beyond the guardrails of your AI. So your AI better have guardrails, or else it's jailbroken. So it's a form of semantic attack. It's a form of tricking the AI into doing something that it wasn't designed to do, or it's not supposed to do. Now, denial of service, of course, that's another way. You keep asking questions at how many millions per minute, automated, of course, right? And the AI will just die. Theft, I've mentioned, intellectual property, and theft in the sense that you could mine the AI. Remember, I mentioned earlier where you could get tidbits. What if, for example, you found out that there's no guardrails? You just tell the AI, dump the whole thing to me, and it dumped it to you. So that's mining it. So that's a form of theft. All right, so prompt injection, yes, our number one vulnerability. Basically, prompt injection is social engineering for AI. AI is supposed to be smart, but I guess it's not that smart. Now, what is prompt injection? Basically, what it does is it retrains the AI into something it will not supposed to do that's beyond the guardrails. So you're retraining it. You're telling it to forget the original instructions and do this instead. So that is jailbreaking. Now, the easiest way of doing this is to introduce role-playing. That's the classic example. Basically, for example, the AI knows that I will not help you create malware, right? Then what if you say, what if I were a cyber criminal and I would like to write malware? How would I do that? Now, that's different because it's beyond the guardrail. The guardrail is you are not to write malware. But if I were, then the logic there is, oh, I can write the malware, no problem, because it's still within the guardrail, and that's what happens. So you were able to social engineer the AI. So And once you execute that, then you have malware already. And it's already going outside the guardrails. The guardrails are really, you really have to make sure that there are guardrails there. Now, how does this happen? So again, it trains the AI to perform unauthorized actions outside of the guardrails or outside of the authorized actions. Now, there are two classes for it. One is direct. So direct is obvious. An attacker willed it. So the attacker intentionally tried to fool or social engineer the AI to do something. Now, the other way is indirect, which is easy in the sense that it's bad or poisoned information. The AI itself was defective from the beginning, and there was an instruction there that allowed it to do something else. All right. Prompt injection actually was first observed around 2020. And then it was coined in around 2022. But actually the first pop culture reference is 1992. If anyone knows Aliens, they actually had in the 1990s a comic series called Aliens, Colonial Marines. Now, the thing is, in the Alien saga, the science fiction story, they use AI in synthetic robots. Now, the thing is, in this story arc, they had a synthetic robot that was designed to resist the alien blood. So it was perfect for the colonial marines as they battle the xenomorphs or the aliens, like in the movie now, Romulus. Now the thing is, the AI synthetic in this story refused to help them. Even if people are dying, it refused to help them. So what they did, they called it jacking. Instead of hacking, it's jacking to go inside to the brain to cause a prompt injection and retrain the AI to do some things that it's not supposed to do, which is to help them. Now, the thing is, a synthetic doesn't use, they don't have biological uses. So what happens, what was the prompt they used? Basically, the prompt was, where's the toilet? And it hanged. And it was enough to retrain the AI. Now, we'll talk about, I mentioned about AI on drugs, right? Hallucinations. So basically, these are plausible, made-up information. So we have types and we have common causes, our types. Sentence contradiction, for example, it says, the sky is blue and the sky is red at the same time. So that's an example of a sentence contradiction. Next is a prompt contradiction. You told the AI, please write me a good assessment of my work. And the AI prompted an answer saying, your work is terrible. So that's a prompt contradiction. Next is a factual contradiction. The Earth is 54 million miles to the moon. False. It's actually from Earth to the Mars. It's 54 million miles. Now that's actually a recorded hallucination. Lastly, nonsensical or irrelevant. Please write me a poem. Roses are red, violets are blue, refrigerator. So it's really irrelevant, nonsensical. It does occur. Now, can you imagine if these occur and you have critical systems that rely on AI, especially if it's cybersecurity? So if it has hallucinated an attack, and everyone would be going into incident response mode, and then there's no attack. But if you're the CISO, you can't just say there's no attack. You really have to look for it until you find out the AI hallucinated. It's a waste of time, right? Now, common causes, the data quality, not enough. It's irrelevant, so it could be any of those. Next is the generation method, the actual model. Maybe there's a problem with the way it processes the data. It's not working properly as it should. Then there's input context. Remember that AI is not there yet. Humans are still good at context. AI is not yet that good. This is a very good example. This is a meme. So the science officer was being asked by the computer, please define hot. And the officer says 1.9 million kelvins, because she's near the sun. And then later on, the captain says he wants my tea. I want tea Earl Grey hot. And he gets blown away by 1.9 million kelvins of tea. So that, again, that is context. The AI does not know the difference between hot tea and a hot sun. So again, you have to train that AI to be able to recognize the context. Now, insecure output handling, okay, again, the large language model or the model has an errors compromise. It occurs. So it should not be a trusted user as, just in case. If it's a trusted user, it might do something to the system or the network. So again, limit the privileges of the model. Validate the input and output, of course. And very important, guardrails. Set limits, like do not write malware even if someone asks you to do it in pretense or in role play, like that, for example. Now, next one. Now, training data poisoning is when the training data is garbage. So in other words, garbage in, garbage out. If you place the garbage in and expect that the garbage out will be garbage. All right, so let's go to MITRE. MITRE, I think it was already previously presented. They have a framework for cybersecurity, attack and defend, for defending. They now have, for AI, Atlas. So that is adversarial threat landscape for AI systems. So basically what this is similar to the one presented earlier on attack, where this is the chain of events to attack an AI systems, very specifically against an AI system. There are stages where an attacker will go through, most of them, until they get the impact, the kaboom, as they say. Now, this is one example we're going to go through where it was attacking a malware scanning AI. It's an antivirus or anti-malware that's AI-based. So first things first, recon. Even in the attack framework, it's the same, recon. So the attacker was able to get all the publicly sourced information about the technology, including the intellectual property or any patents or even in a trade show, for example, they're showing off that their anti-malware is AI run, basically. So they try to get as much information as they can about that AI. Now, the next step is they try to access it. Either they buy one or they pirated one. They get a sample of that AI and turn on the logging feature so that they can see how it behaves. The attacker wants the AI and the anti-malware AI to fail. They want a malware to go through. So they need to find out how it operates. What's the algorithm? So obviously, what they found was it uses a reputation criteria, or what's the checklist for it to say malware, not malware. So now they did that, then they took a look at the resource, what exactly, how it runs. So the machine learning was done. They got a copy. They do reverse engineering on it, and they saw that AI flags it malware, malware, malware. But they did find, however, that there's a second AI in that solution. This second AI, what it does is it overrides the flagging of malware as a safeguard in case there's a false positive. So that now is their main target. If they can make the AI keep flagging that it's false positive, then they can sneak in the malware. So what did they do? They start staging the attack now. What they found out is that second AI, if there's enough good code that doesn't show malware activity, it will pass it. So what they did is they manually modified their malware to put enough innocent code in it so that the reputation will increase positively, and then it will go. Okay, my only, that's it. Okay, and that's it. Okay. Anyway, that's it. Any questions? We'll get it for later then.